Hi everybody. I apologize for getting this up late. My daughters came this weekend unexpectedly, so I lost a full day. But actually it was nice. I needed a day off anyway. But anyway, I'm scrambling to catch up. So here is my little talk about paired text. Paired text are generally a fiction book and a nonfiction book that are about the same topic. And so why do we do this? Well, for one thing, it informs and extends the understanding of a topic or a theme. And the other thing, well, we've been doing this for a long time, but the Common Core State Standards is really now really puts an emphasis on using more informational text. And so pairing text are becoming more and more attractive to teachers from K through 12. So I'm going to just go through a few slides here, and all the documents you see in this presentation are also available to you on Blackboard. I've put them there either as a link or a PDF or a document. I talked about paired text in one of my other little chats with you briefly, one in my office, and actually showed you some books. Here I just wanted to show you another pairing that I often did for my freshmen, and these were kind of striving readers. So Fever 1793 by Laurie Haltz Anderson, who by the way is a fabulous author, young adult author. She's written many books. Speak, you may know Speak, which is really powerful. Nonetheless, and An American Plague. American Plague is the nonfiction. These are both about the yellow fever outbreak in 1793 in Philadelphia that killed 10% of the population. And it's not something that we read about often in our history books, so it's a nice event to look into. It could have a science bent to it, looking at how mosquitoes cause malaria, yellow fever. It's also a nice historical because it does give you a nice snapshot of what Philadelphia looked like in 1793. You can tie it to what was going on in terms of our fledgling country. So it's just a really nice pairing, and it's fairly easy read. I would say 6th grade and up. Middle school definitely, early high school for some readers. And then the other pairing I used was about the Emmett Till trial. And these are both by Chris Crow. It's interesting, he's written a fictionalized version called Mississippi Trial 1955. And he's also written a nonfiction informational text called Getting Away with Murder, the true story of Emmett Till. The Getting Away with Murder has some graphic pictures in it. Just want to, if you're going to having kids read, you want to kind of let them know about that. And it's fairly, you can find the pictures on the internet when Emmett Till was killed. His mother took pictures of him in the casket and publicized those pictures. People could see what actually happened to him. So it's a little graphic, but it's a good conversation starter too. So this is two pairings that I have used in the past. Okay, so you have this document. It's a PDF, and it's called Made for Each Other, Paired Text for the Common Core Standards in Middle and High School. And I've also given you this link right here. Let me get my pencil going. This right here, this link, I actually have that, get this pen to work here so you can actually see what I'm doing here. Stop that. That was me knocking over my iPad. Okay, so this link right here, you actually have. I've given that to you, so I'll erase all my mess here. Okay, and so this gives you some Match Made in History, books about the past. Whoops, sorry, get rid of that. Sorry, I keep doing the wrong thing here. All right, so I can't show you the whole thing because it's now fixed, but it's a big document, and you have that. Here's an example here: Revolutionary War, slavery in the Civil War, World War I, and so forth and so on. So the list goes on, but you have that as a PDF in Blackboard. And here's this. Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. I put them on pages. Here's the second page. Again, World War II, civil rights, and then shared interest books with common themes: American Indian experience and identity, Antarctica, body image, civil liberties. Russell Freeman is the one that wrote American Plague, who's also written In Defense of Liberty. He's a really good nonfiction writer. And then we have communism, faith, gay and lesbian experience and identity, immigrant experience and identity. And I think that's the one more. Okay. Justice system, labor issues and workers' rights, loss, extinction, Middle East. Middle East. These are really great books. I think it really exposes kids to a culture that they may only know as stereotype. So really important. Parasite and Plague, Perception, Political Resistance, Race and Identity, and Women's Rights. So again, you have this complete PDF, and I invite you to explore some of these. Just looking at this last page, Jennifer Donnelly's A Northern Light, right here, A Northern Light, is a really, really good book. I read it several years ago and really, really enjoyed it, so you might take a look at that. Okay, now here's a website that's called Paired Fiction and Nonfiction Text, and I've given you the link here, but I've also given you the link on Blackboard. This gives you some nice paired text. It gives you some tips on how teaching strategies, so it's a really nice resource. This comes out of the state of Illinois, so the pair titles are aligned with Illinois standards, but I think you could easily look at the Illinois standard and transpose that into the Common Core state standard. Now I've also given you some pictures here of their list, but you also have those lists in the Blackboard. It takes a few minutes to load because it's color here. Okay. So these are for primary. The list I showed you before was for middle and high school, and these were for primary. Here's, again, it shows you the state standard, but remember that's Illinois standard, that's not ours. But I'm sure that you could find that math standard in the Common Core. So connecting math to the real world, First Day in Grapes, and Math Curse. Now, I've actually read Math Curse, and it's really cool. It's some fun math poetry. This author, whose name I can never pronounce, writes a lot of really interesting books. He wrote the Stinky Cheese Man and Other Stories. I think that was the name of it. So that's that one. There are more. This is just a demonstration of them. Again, it takes a few minutes for the PDF to load. Here's science, scientific instruments, looking through a telescope in the blackest hole in space. This one is social studies. Takes a minute to load. And this looks at elections and voting, Duck for president, and voting in election. So those are just some examples, and when you look at the actual documents, there are more on there. This, again, is another list. These are paired texts for the Common Core standards in middle and high school classroom. So this is another list similar to the one we had before, but in fact, I think, you know what, I think this actually might be the same list now that I'm looking at it, only this one is linked, so this is probably a better one for you to look at. And then just making the point about what's going on here in terms of college and career ready. That's the whole idea is this, again, this staircase that they mention here of increasing complexity in what students must be able to read so that they can meet the demands of college and career ready no later than the end of high school. And that begins in kindergarten. And that means ramping up our reading in a respectful way. I'm not meaning we need to cram really hard books down kids' throats. We want to make sure that we're scaffolding it well. But nonetheless, here's some information that helps you think about how these paired texts might work for you. Now, the other thing you might want to think about with paired text is pairing canonical text, like the classic text that you read, with YA Lit or Children's Lit. So it doesn't necessarily have to be nonfiction and fiction, although that's the most common pairings to make. But think about text sets in that you're giving students multiple texts to read, and one of those texts is is a rigorous text that is fairly complex. But by reading the other more accessible texts before that, or investigating excerpts from those texts, the students understand the theme, the topic, the nuances about what's going on. They've built schema for it. So when they do tackle the more complex text, they're ready for it. So be thinking about in terms of paired text and or text sets. Instead of just teaching a book to a student, you want to teach them through inquiry, investigation, and through multiple lens. And so it's your turn. The discussion forum this week is asking you what nonfiction text could be paired with a historical fiction book you read this week. and I've asked you to explain a little bit why your choice is valid. Or if you really can't find a book or don't feel there's a good pairing for yours, here's another option. Just pair a fiction and nonfiction book, not necessarily the one you read for this week, and explained how they might be used. So you've got a couple of options then for this week. So so that's my little spiel on paired text. And again, I'm sorry for getting this up late, but best laid plans, as we know. So have a great rainy Tuesday.